So how does knowing your type, psychological type, help you in your daily life?
It's a good management of stress and time. If you're not allowed to be in your preferences, you can be stressed. So you can be angry and whatever, or you can actually make bad decisions. Okay, so for the sort of person I am, I'm in my head. That's where I'm interested in logical things and so on, and possibilities. The things that I'm not good at are actually the things that are social things. So interrelations with other people and all that. And I have to look at that from a logical perspective. See, I'm interested in people, but for me it's because it's logical for me to be interested in people. If you're a people person, what I've just said makes no sense to you whatsoever, because you say, but I am interested, I don't have to think about it, that's actually what I do. So what that means is that in social occasions and also in meeting people, I actually need to learn things in order to deal with that. And as I get older, I might get better at it, but I might not. It depends on how I respond to the situation. But yeah,
You better understand yourself, and then you can manage the things around you, or what you need to do better.
Yeah, you know, I mean, as an introvert, the outside world is actually not a favourite place, and that's exaggerating a bit. Doesn't mean that you hide in rooms and do whatever, but it means that if you're an extrovert, you accept the world outside for what it is, and it's an easier place to manage. So therefore, you know, say for the extrovert has to manage the inner world. You know, do I actually spend enough time, if I'm an extrovert, reflecting on something, you know, and it depends on more complex aspects of this, whether do I make my decisions with regard to the external world, or do I make them internally.
So how many questions are there in the MBTI?
For this one, there are 93. There have been various forms of the MBTI over the years, and the largest one is 290. I think 290, but round about there.
So for MBTIs where you have to go and actually take it, you get told afterwards, as you do in a 45-minute session, this is how your results came out. For example, if you did it on the internet, though, what kind of results do you get?
Okay, now theoretically, you fill it out on the internet, and your results actually go to a person who's agreed to provide feedback. Okay, so this person will actually give you email feedback.
It's a written assessment.
Yeah, and there'll be a discussion. Now, that's been a change in the ethics because of technology. Now, I prefer the face-to-face because, you know, I've got to look at your body language and your responses, and then I'm going to say, well, okay, what do you think about that? And while some people communicate really well over a keyboard, you actually really do need that sort of thing. I've taught people who work in remote areas that it's okay to have a webcam. You see, because you want to actually see that, and you want the person to reflect on it. Because if they say it's not me, and I've taught people who have got results and they've introduced themselves and they thought they knew their type, and it's a type opposite or something to what they've actually come out, and then you think, oh, what happened? And so then you say, oh, okay, where were you when you filled out the form? What? Because you're supposed to be relaxed and calm and all that sort of thing. And sometimes a work situation for people is a different thing, and they respond as a work person, not as who they really are.
So it differs depending on where you are, what kind of conditions, what kind of
the results can do that, but who you are actually doesn't change. You see, so for me, it doesn't matter where I fill out the MBTI, I'm still the same result. But I know, and I've taught some people who say, yeah, if I'm sitting at work at my desk, I'm going to answer it more in this way. And I don't understand that, but the reality is this is what these people do. So they'll get a different result, but they're still, the point is, which type are they, not what the result is.
Do you want to help us sample some of the questions there? What kind of questions? I'm curious to know.
Okay. Can I give it? I'm not too sure how this will work. The first question, this is, I'll use this as
answer.
Yeah, okay. It says here, when you go somewhere for the day, would you rather A, plan what you'll do and when, or B, just go?
A.
Okay. All right. Now, that presumes, if that's you and there are another 21 questions that are like that, then that would presume that you're scheduled and organised and you like to be on time. You might be more neat and tidy than casual and so on.
But then it's not always A. Sometimes I do the B as well. So
oh no, well, see, there are shuffled up. You see,
Right.
the A question here is the judging question, and the B is the perceiving question. But there will be other questions in
Other
here in
questions,
which they'll be. But you've identified yourself as a human
Right,
being. You see,
okay.
because it doesn't mean that you do the other thing 100% and the other thing not at all.
Right.
Matter of fact, if you do that, you haven't adapted. You need to adapt to the environment. So there's really, when people are actually only one and not the other at all, then they're not in a good spot personally. You know, there's some stresses. So if you actually answered everything for Jay and you said, well, I don't do anything spontaneous, you'd be a very stressed person. And probably people wouldn't like to talk to you. So it's that thing. But the other thing too is that if you're scheduled and organised, some people that are actually like that like to what I call schedule spontaneity. So, you know, you're going away for the weekend and you're actually going to have fun, whatever that is. And so you say, well, okay, I don't have a schedule, I'm not going to go to dinner at 7 or whatever it is, I'm just going to see what comes up. And sometimes for those people, they schedule spontaneity from about 8 o'clock on Friday to about 8 o'clock, which is PM on Sunday, and then it's back to the schedule.
Right.
So, you know, they block out time. You hear this a lot from people going on holidays.
I see what you mean.
You know,
It's quite similar to the short questionnaires we often find in magazines.
yes.
Are
yes.
you an extrovert, introvert, or this type of person, that type of person, right?
Yeah, and in actual fact, and this is a scientific thing, once somebody starts doing something, then it's easier for other people to make up similar things. But they tend to make them up on a... I've done research on a questionnaire I'm developing myself. It takes a lot of time to actually get the right questions for the theory. But if you know, the thing is that one of the reasons why this is so popular is that you can actually read a description after you fill out the MBTI and say, oh yeah, this is me. So therefore, you can then have a look at a questionnaire and extroversion, introversion. Yeah, that's fairly easy. What sort of decisions? So it's easy to make up quick questions. But the difference between those and the MBTI is that they haven't been tested out with thousands of people, and the results have actually been statistically correlated and all that sort of thing. So you know that they're consistently good questions. You know, but I suppose the other thing too, notwithstanding the seriousness of this, is that personality is fun, and so people like talking about different personalities or finding out something about themselves.
They like testing their, or they like, they want to know what their personality is.
Yeah,
like
and it depends on whether what you would take seriously. So if you're filling it out in a magazine, and I would be looking and say, oh yeah, I'll fill that out. But I'd be surprised if it actually gave me a good answer. Okay, and if it did, I'd say that's good. But if it didn't, you know, I'd say, well...
often it's too generalised, isn't it?
Yeah.
In magazines, the shorter ones.
Well, one of the things is, and this is really the gift of the MBTI tells us that there are different people. It doesn't matter whether there are 16 types or not, but that they're all different and that it's good to be you, because that's actually the fundamental thing, because, and so it extends the range of normal behaviour. So in a culture, you know, whether it's yours or mine, there are things that you actually do because you're supposed to do them. And you can find them easy to do, but some things you actually might find constrain you. Or you say, oh, well, I wish I could do this, but I know I can't do that. Or you know that people won't look at you positively if you actually act in a particular way. You know, it's not a good idea to be an intellectual in some cultures. It's, you know, so I come from a sporting culture, which I quite like. And there are lots of Australian intellectuals, but we're not a culture that overall values people that think deeply and so on. So there are places where you don't talk about that sort of stuff.
What cultural distinctions do you expect to find in Koreans, knowing what you know of Koreans?
Well, you know, I've only been here a couple of days, so I don't know much, and it's just general knowledge. But you would expect that Korean culture, like a lot of East Asian cultures, is actually not as expressive in a personal sense as other cultures. So, say in Australia, in the United States, is the individuality and so on. In Korea, just observing what people are doing, there are some formalities that go with it, actually, in some respects, determine visible relationships between males and females, the way people address each other. There's a more formal way of addressing me, for instance, and all that, whereas in Australia we're actually quite casual. Now, in type terms, that's not going to give you much information at all, unless you actually want to use the categories to categorise cultures, which you can do. You can use it in a sociological sense, you know. So you would expect Americans to be an extroverted culture, Australians not too sure, New Zealanders are supposed to be introverted, as are the English, that sort of thing. So you would expect that this was an introverted culture in behaviours. Okay, but it doesn't mean from that that Koreans as a whole, or more than 50%, are actually introverts, because there are different ways that you would do things. Finland is an introverted culture, so, and type is used a lot in Finland. Extroverts that you meet from Finland act like introverts, you know, but they're extroverts because they're attracted to the outside world. They're more interested in that sort of thing, so they're more interested in engaging in that and doing all those sorts of things in it than reflecting.
It's quite complicated, isn't it?
I like to make it that way.
The human mind is very complicated.
Well, yeah, but also in some ways that's good. You can actually say some simple things about people, and like I was saying before, this is actually where the MBTI is good, in that you can pick up the basic principles and say, oh, I know something about that. But when you start to learn it, and this is having been doing this for 20 years, and being interested in making things complex. I'm not a simple person. I make the simple complex. You know, so opening a door could be a complex operation to me, which may not be helpful. So it's that sort of thing, but I like the idea of complexity, because for me that makes it more legitimate. You know, you say, oh, okay, because I know that as a type, I'm like other people that I've met who are the same type, but I know that there are differences, and you find those out just through talking and even through interest, for instance. So they're the things that you look for. So you look beyond the surface to see what people are really like.
I see. Well, I had fun talking about MBTI and what people might be on the outside and inside, and the difference thereof. Also, I want to thank you very much for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay here in Korea.
Okay, thank you. Pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
It's human nature to want to know a little bit about ourselves, and today we introduce to you the MBTI as one way of getting a better understanding of yourself. That's it for today's Heart to Heart. I'll be back with more next time. See you again then.